Kerry.
Hello.
I think we should hear each other on this because I tested it before. It'll be working.
Oh, good.
I really appreciate your willingness
Of course.
to come by. Now the big issue is, can I get Richard Shorman to do an interview?
Good luck on
I
that.
may have to get the questions ahead of time and definitely avoid privacy, but I really
Yes.
appreciate your involvement because I know you two like to stay out of the limelight. So let's start out with your background a little, and then we'll go into the whole
Okay.
other elements of chess. You're from California.
I'm from California, born in San Francisco, raised as a youngster in Venice and Santa Monica.
Oh, really?
You know, moved back to San Francisco when I was about 10, then moved to San Leandro when I was about 12.
And moved to Haywood.
Oh, well, actually, I didn't start living in Hayward until I got out of the Navy.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Okay. And when did you start chess?
Well, my dad taught me chess when I was about 7 years old. I just played very, very casually until I was about 17. It's a sort of interesting story. It was the last day of school. My dad had a couple chess books, and I knew that nothing was going to happen the last day, so I just decided, I think I'll bring a book with me. And it just happened to be a chess book. So I was there trying to solve with 1001 Checkmates by Reinfeldt. And so I was sitting there in class, and a friend of mine who I'd been in Boy Scouts with came up to me and said, "You play chess after school, come with me." So there I was. Last day I was a sophomore in high school, San Leandro High School, and so he brought me to the club. Raymond Osmus, the teacher, was there, and everybody decided to play me, and of course I lost every game horribly, really horribly. It was very painful because I thought I'd been pretty good.
Until you confronted a chess club.
Yeah. So basically, all that summer, I studied chess and played with my friend, and we both decided to enter the chess club when the new year began. It was junior year. And of course, again, I started at the bottom, but I remember my first game. It's interesting. I have every single game I've ever played all written down.
So you started recording right away?
I did.
Huh.
Yeah, because the Raymond Osmus was like the director, or former director of the Hayward Chess Club, and he was very big on that. So I started out right.
Descriptive, I assume.
Of course.
When did you move to?
Actually, I never did. My last game as a master in 1989 was still in descriptive. It wasn't until I started studying a little bit and writing that I went to algebraic.
When did you enter your first tournament?
Well, my first tournament was in high school. In those days, this is the pre-Bobby Fischer boom, back in '67. I was in high school, so we entered a high school tournament, and I had 2 tournaments in high school. And the first tournament, actually, I did pretty well. I played the winner of the tournament in the last round. I lost. Oh well.
You came in second place, I guess.
No, I didn't.
Oh, no.
Simply because since I had actually lost, other people had drawn.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
So it got done, yeah.
Yeah.
And this was a rated tournament?
No, this was a high school tournament.
Okay.
Thing is, in those days, USCF wasn't big in California. In fact, Chess Friends of Northern California was the big rating
Well, they had
monster.
their own system.
Oh yes, of course. It was a system which is somewhat superior to USCF in that you can see your rating after every game.
That's different.
Yeah. So I simply played in the tournament, did fairly well, And I had another tournament before the end of high school, and the next year, it was sort of like the championship of the Alameda schools, Alameda high schools. I didn't win that one either. But I was in the next, there was 3 divisions, the beginning, intermediate, and advanced. I started out in beginning. Next year, I was in intermediate. I see a lot of kids started out in the junior high schools. And since I started so late, I didn't actually get to the top. Although by the second year, I had already been to the Hayward Chess Club, and I'd been hearing rumors about Richard Shorman.
So it's going to be my next question.
Yes, and so I met him in about 67, late 67. And since I was I didn't have a lot of talent. I had some positional talent, but nothing special. So I remember, even after quite some time, he didn't take me as a student that much because he taught me a little bit, but it was offhand. He wasn't serious about me being a student because I didn't have the talent. I remember one time he told me, "You'll never progress beyond expert. You just don't have the talent."
Interesting. Well, I guess that pushed you as proven wrong.
Well, the thing is that he didn't understand that I really, really wanted to be better. Yeah.
But I thought Richard was, well, I guess maybe he changed in his later years.
Yeah.
Because I always get the feeling that he doesn't care about the full talent as long as they work at it and try. He's willing to work with the students.
Well, in the beginning, I mean, everyone goes through a learning curve, and I think he was too. He was taking the most talented kids and teaching them.
Okay, so that's definitely different than what he's been doing.
Right.
Yeah.
He was teaching other people too, but he
Yeah.
paid special attention to the talented
Okay.
ones.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And this was before you went into the service?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Did you go to college after high school, or did you go right into service?
Well, I went to college. I had some college, and then I went into the service.
Did you go to Chabot?
I did.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I thought I read somewhere.
Yeah, went to Chabot.
And had you planned on a major?
Biology. But I found that I liked comic books more, so I started a comic book business.
Oh, you actually had a business with comics?
Yeah, that sort of derailed me a little bit.
Huh.
It derailed me from college and chess for a little while.
Interesting. Well, where was this, actually a store or just
Well,
on your own?
It was at the flea markets, and then eventually it was at the Hayward Flea Market, which was it had permanent stalls, with furniture and all that kind of stuff, and we locked it so it was like a 4-day-a-week store.
It sounds like there's a lot more chess activity in the Hayward-San Leandro area than there is today.
Oh, much more,
And
because
especially at schools as well.
well, the thing is, when I first started chess at the Hayward Chess Club, it was a whole different world. The people there were old timers, and they'd been in chess, for decades and decades. And the cigar smoke and the pipe smoke and the cigarette smoke was just overwhelming, especially for a young kid or teenager. So basically, it was interesting, but that was the same with every single club. Even when I got in the Navy, I went to some clubs like Long Beach and the Steiner Club, and they were just reeking with smoke too.
Were they drinking as well at the
Drinking?
chess clubs? Drinking, liquor.
Oh no, of course
No,
not.
Just
Smoking.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
curious. I mean, it's a
No,
different world.
nobody drank liquor. They were all pretty
Just
much teetotalers.
Teetotalers and smokers.
Yeah.
Now, what about Cherryland
They smoked and drank coffee.
and coffee?
Yeah.
Now, was Cherryland active at the time that you started into chess?
Oh yes, but I didn't actually start Cherryland until I think Richard took me there a couple times in my senior year of high school, and so I got a sort of a preview of it. But I didn't start going there regularly until I started rooming with Marty Sullivan and Everett McNally. they live pretty close to the club, pretty much to the cafe actually, and so I went there every night.
Why don't you tell us a little about Cherryland, because this is, beyond my knowledge and many people who are interested in it.
Well, Cherryland, I believe, was closed on Mondays, and it was open the other 6 days. Let's see. It didn't actually open for chess until 6 p.m. And it kept on going until 6 a.m. every night.
And there was something about the cook or somebody.
Oh, well,
who was,
the cook and owner was Harold James. And his wife, Eileen, was also a beginning chess player too. And it was pretty amazing. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. The reason being that it had a champion, Gary Wilson, spelled with 2 R's. And he was a former roommate of Duncan Suttles. So he had a very peculiar closed positional style. And almost nobody could beat him. He only had a 1980 rating, but experts came in and lost to him pretty regularly, even a lot of masters. So Richards pretty well summed it up when he said he was a very solid, strong master. Expert, which is true.
About how many people participated in this?
At a nightly, I'd say probably about half a dozen to a dozen people per night. And not all at the same time, though.
Okay. And
No.
how many nights did you yourself go?
Well, when I went there once a week until I actually, until I got out of the Navy. Before I went in the Navy, I went there about once a week. And then during the Navy, of course, not at all. Occasionally I'd come back. And then when I got out, probably about 3 times a week.
And how often was Richard there?
Oh, almost every night.
Every Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
And when did it close down and why?
Well, it closed down in 1977. There was let's see, I think there was a factory nearby, a Hunt's factory. And a lot of the people who kept this business alive were from the factory. And also, during that period, chess started downhill too. People started drifting away from chess. That was a little bit of it. And it was just economics. He just couldn't keep the doors open anymore.
And so the business.
He closed it down in '77.
And where exactly was Cherryland?
Cherryland was at Meekland Avenue and I think it was A Street. It was right off of A Street. Yeah, it's about half a block away on Meekland.
And that was the name of the restaurant itself? Or?
Cherryland Cafe.
Okay, Cherryland Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he started it.
Interesting name in and of itself. Yeah.
Well, see, Cherryland, of course, refers to Hayward, Hayward area as being cherry orchards back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A little history here.
Yeah.
Which takes us over to the history world.
Oh, right.
I'm going to, do a
Uh-huh.
little segue here. What got you started in the history of chess, I suppose, that
Well,
way, especially in Northern California?
I've been a collector all my life.
Collector of?
Of everything. I started out as a collector of bottle caps and coins. My dad was a coin dealer, among other things. And so I got the collecting bug very early, and I drifted into collecting comic books by the time I was 10. And by the time I started in chess when I was 17, everything that came my way, every magazine, every book, it was like it never left me. Once it went into my possession, it was over.
And your mom or dad never decided to throw any of this stuff out? They let it...
Oh, no, not at all. Yeah. Well, my mother actually was a collector too.
Which would explain part of it. So
Yeah, I mean, her father was a big antique collector before the First World War. So.
Did you have any valuable comic books in that collection?
Oh yeah, of course.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I had early Golden Age Superman, the complete Marvel collection, Fantastic Four one on, Spider-Man one on, and duplicate. I had doubles of everything.
And you did a lot of trading?
Trading and selling and buying. Oh yeah.
Bottle caps as well?
By the time I started comics, that was it. That was the last.
And you still got a pretty good collection?
No, actually I don't. I got rid of that. I got rid of it at a good time, I think, because it's when I got rid of my coin collection, people were getting out of coins. When I got rid of my comic book collection, the majority of people were getting out of comic books. Yes, the rare ones are still valuable, but there's a very small percentage of people that actually do collect them, so it's hard to sell them.
Okay, so let's take that over to chess.
Chess.
When did you start
When I first,
collecting? Yeah.
well, I bought a reissue of Chess Life, and actually Chess Review off the stands. Chess Review in those days was actually a separate magazine than Chess Life. Chess Life acquired it in '69.
Okay, so let me just get into a sense. When was that first time that you picked up the magazine off the stands?
Oh, 1966, when I first started chess.
And they were actually selling it
Chess
on a stand
Oh
somewhere?
yeah. I bought it at the Village Bottle Shop in downtown San Leandro. Yeah. They still have a magazine rack, I think. That's where I bought all my comics, so I was used to buying things there. And I remember, because I was a member of the Hayward Chess Club, they sent me the first issue of Skasic Voice, which was actually the precursor of Chess Voice. That was a very popular magazine during the Bobby Fischer era, Northern California. Chess magazine.
And you read through these?
Oh yeah.
And moved the pieces along with the
Oh no,
articles?
no. Thing is that I was a pretty bad chess student.
So you told me this previously. This was where I was.
Okay, yeah. I never played through games, and everyone told me to, Richard included, and I just was bad. But
well, a bad chess player becoming a master, losing all his games first time at the high school. This is definitely an interesting success story in some fashion.
Oh well.
What do you attribute the change to?
Oh well, my determination to continue playing. Well, actually, there was a turning point, and I can tell you that a little later.
Okay.
So, I studied openings a little bit, and when I was in high school, my first opening book was Horowitz's Chess Theory and Practice, and my next one was MCO 10 by Evans.
This is pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, but
very early.
all the kids at the high school were reading them.
Really?
Oh yeah, especially the ones I wanted to beat. So I figured I had to.
Sounds like a pretty strong group of kids there.
Well,
That's certainly
yeah. Basically, I think they were the two strongest players in the club were C players, but actually really 1,500 players, which is pretty good for a high school club in those days.
Yeah.
Now it's nothing special.
Yeah, now it's a different world.
Exactly.
But still, considering what they were studying, I just wonder how well they would be doing today under those circumstances. I have a feeling they'd be a lot better.
Yeah, I'm sure they would improve with the times.
Yeah, with the techniques certainly
Yeah.
studying it. So, again, you told me, but I'll let you repeat it here. How did you make that transition to becoming a good chess player?
Well, let's see. I sort of grew into being a solid A player without much work. I studied the openings. I played a lot, and by the time I got into the Navy, I was a Class A player. And
You were in the United States Chess Federation Class A.
yes, yeah. I never did make it out of Class B in the chess friends. It's just the way it went. And I studied a lot when I was in the Navy. I'd study about 2 hours a day, mostly openings.
What was your role in the Navy, or what was your position?
Well, I was a gunner's mate, And my I was actually working nights, and since there was not much to do at nights,
Where were you stationed?
on the USS Enterprise.
Oh, that's right. I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was actually, I won the championship with the ship, much to the chagrin of the officers who had actually started the tournament. They weren't happy with me. In fact, it took me a long time.
And you didn't have pointy ears.
No,
On this enterprise.
no. It took me a long time to get that trophy. I'm sure if had I been an officer, it would have been presented to me.
Seems to be a lot of chess played aboard ships, if I get this feeling, because Francisco Anchondo was telling me about, and friends of his, how they played.
That was about a decade later.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Right. Yeah, it's true. There is a lot of chess played on ships. Of course, during the Bobby Fischer era, the whole crew was watching Mark Spitz and, Bobby Fischer. So there was a number of people actually who wanted to take lessons from me at $10 a shot.
On ship?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I certainly charged them. And
now we know where you bought your comics.
and the thing is that I actually started a chess club on ship after I won the championship, and it went going good for a while until, of course, our tour of duty ended, and I was still on the ship. But at that time, we went back to San Francisco, and I played a lot of chess at mechanics at that time. In fact, I went to mechanics, instead of going home, I went to mechanics every day, practically. And played probably many hundreds of games.
And who was there that was quote-unquote notable at the time?
Oh, I remember seeing Jude Akers. He would give simultaneous. In fact, I took a couple lessons from Jude, and my games somehow ended up as a match. Somehow he submitted it to USCF as a match that I played with him, and got rating points for it. And later on, my rating went down. What the heck? Why is it going down? I haven't played since I.
One-on-one games, huh?
Yeah, he was giving me lessons,
Giving you lessons, and you learned the big lessons. Don't trust him because you
Exactly.
got to take your rating points from him.
Yeah, exactly. I don't begrudge him though.
Yeah, you learned. That's the important thing. Let's
Yeah.
go back to the history.
Okay, so basically, so I was playing a lot of chess, and I played some tournaments at mechanics, and for the first time, I started winning A prizes while I was still in the Navy. This is in 1972. I think I won. I played 3 tournaments and won 2 A prizes. Didn't come in first, but I came in second both times. And I was playing even with experts. So by the time I got back from the Navy in December of '72, I was rated 1990. And that was just in time for the Bobby Fischer boom. So I was feeling pretty good, and I was saying, if I get really good really quick, I could become a professional chess player. We all had this opinion at the time. I mean, it was just sort of an interesting period. And of course, we were riding on Fischer's coattails, and the minute he abdicated, the whole thing fell to pieces. Yeah. But in any case, but at that time, I started I had sold my comics, my whole collection, before I went in the Navy.
Oh, okay, way back then. Okay.
Yeah, in the end of 1970. And it's interesting that people who knew me were trying to sell me comic books in '73, and I sort of resisted because I really wanted to play chess. So I played at mechanics almost every day. Even when I was supposed to be going to Chabot, my grades weren't too hot, I have to admit. And so I was just chess crazy. And all of a sudden, I just couldn't resist anymore. So I started buying these comic book collections that they were offering me. And I started getting more into comics, going to flea markets. And I still played a lot of chess, but it didn't. I wasn't actually. I was losing rating points because I wasn't focused on chess, and so by the time Bobby Fischer abdicated, about later, I, for the first time in almost a decade, I went down to B player again. God, this really threw me for a loop. And I said, and I actually, I was so incensed that I quit chess for 6 months. And I actually, since John Larkins, the editor of Chess Voice at the time, was looking for old issues of Chess Voice. I had the first issues, all of them. So in disgust, I gave them to him. Didn't even ask for money, just gave it to him. And 6 months later, I had an idea, because as a positional player, I found, and I thought about it, I had been actually afraid to lose. And Richard gave me a couple lessons that showed that actually controlling the position is actually bad. You have to go for it. You have to be willing to die, just like a samurai. And so I actually changed my style from a very closed style to a very tactical style once again, which this is how I got to be an A player. But I sort of thought, if I want to progress, I'm going to have to get closed, and it just hurt my chess. So I'm just not, I guess I just don't have the patience to maneuver, even though that's partially my talent.
That's interesting, because you had told me you were very tactical.
I was tactical because I had to be.
What do you think, I want to go back to your fascination with history, being a historian myself.
Okay, I'll get to that in a second here.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, I had that revelation, and I started playing again, and I quickly went back to A player, and then quickly got an expert rating, and within a couple of years I became a master. That was because of tactics. But all the time I was doing this, of course, I had gotten those magazines back from John Larkins.
You got them back from him?
I did. And I started collecting everything in sight, and then it's interesting. I always had a fascination for the math of chess. This is totally irrelevant, but I like to graph chess ratings, and make graphs and so forth. This is before Excel.
For a biologist, that's interesting.
Yeah. And so basically, I started collecting chess lives just to get the ratings, lists. And then I started collecting other things. And all of a sudden, I found that I had more magazines than books. And then it's interesting, my mother, being a writer, a published writer, was very helpful in that she was cutting, she had just tons of articles that she'd been collecting for writing ideas for, like 40 years. I had stuff, she had stuff from the early 50s and late 40s. And she started, basically in the 70s, she started collecting every single Richard Sherman chess column for me. Every single...
She was collecting for you.
For me. And I didn't really appreciate them until much, much later. But I had almost a complete collection of Richard Sherman columns.
And I assume you still have them, knowing you.
Oh, I have Richard Sherman gave me everything. I have everything he had. You wouldn't believe the stuff I have. I have stuff going back to the 1800s. Just complete runs of everything.
Which you got from Sherman, or you
all
over the place?
For a while there, I had a fairly good job, so I was sort of a regular denizen of eBay. If something was there, I'd just bid on it until I won it. There's a guy in L.A. who's actually writing a biography of a famous L.A. player. I'm not going to say who it is. And he was my biggest competitor. We'd always be bidding on the same things.
So there is somebody else in the California area.
Oh,
that
there's
does
more
collect.
than there's actually 3 or 4. The premier chess historian on on the whole coast is John Donaldson.
You mentioned that before, and that was very interesting.
In fact, he has helped me immensely with this website get a whole bunch of things I wouldn't have been able to get.
Huh.
He's an ambulance chaser, and he was the one who got me all the Patagorsky stuff. Somebody else in Berkeley got me all the Colte stuff.
Have you ever thought about doing some sort of a book or magazine dealing with the history of chess in California? Or a
Well,
particular
the
subject
thing
like
is that
Patagorsky?
magazines are going the way of the dodo.
Yeah, that's true.
And nobody reads books anymore. Or that's
Oh,
not
online.
not exactly true, but in any case, I figure that I'm not really an historian. I'm more of a
Collector?
yeah, I'm a collector, and I'm also a digitizer. It's a better term for me. What I want to do is digitize everything that I own, which is going to take decades. I hope to live that long, and so that real historians can, use the material to create their
So you're creating the archives
Exactly.
for the writers.
yeah.
Well, interesting.
That's exactly what I want to do, and that's my primary purpose.
What's your most precious item that you have as far as that you've collected?
Well, in terms of money, of course, I have Bobby Fischer signatures. I have a 1957 program of Bobby Fischer's playing in San Francisco for the junior championship. And it was Colte's copy of it, and Bobby Fischer signed it. In terms of money, that's probably my single best thing. But that's nothing. To me, the information is more important. And yes, I have newspapers like the Argonaut going back to 1864. And I haven't had time to put those online at all. I put all the 1886s online so far. I just put a smattering of stuff online, and it's frustrating because I just don't have the time to put everything online.
It's the reality of anybody who's that kind of fascination and has got that kind of collection.
Yeah,
So at least you're directing yourself in that.
exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is that I just had a really good thing happen lately. Somebody published. I was able to give somebody the complete California Chess Reporter, which is probably the premier magazine that California ever did. It was from 1951 through 1976. And it's all been digitized, and it's come out in books, regrettably, with my name on it, because I certainly wasn't the editor of the thing at the time. But it's there, and he gave me all the digitized copy, and so this year I plan to put that online. It's going to be a major coup. It has tournament tables all the way back. Yeah, and information. It goes all the way through the Fischer era, 76. But my favorite magazine is the Chess Friends of Northern California's Chess in Action. This is the first magazine. Actually, this is how I fell in love with chess history. I was at a tournament right after high school. It was not a rated tournament, it was a high school tournament for people who had just gotten out of high school, run by Richard Shorman.
He actually ran tournaments.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. He was a TD for Chess Friends. He did a lot of work in that area. And so he had this magazine, or he had a bunch of magazines out for free. Anyone who wants them can take them.
Sounds like Rich.
Yeah. And so I saw this magazine. I'd never seen it before. And I looked at it, and I lusted after it. I took it. And the thing is that this is actually the magazine that allowed me to contact Jim Hurt of chess friends. And so the minute I got into Chabot, this was in the fall, in October, I started the chess club there at Chabot. And immediately I am enrolled as some chess friends of Northern California so we could start playing matches. It's interesting that as a player I was so-so, but as a tournament organizer or a club organizer I was better. I don't know what that means. Maybe I'm better with people than chess.
You seem to identify yourself, at least in your little description on the notables, which I'll talk about later, but your notables as a club organizer. That's where you see yourself, which really shook me up a little, to be honest with you, because I would see you in many more aspects than that. But
that's what I've done mostly, is organize chess clubs.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you say that, but when I think about all of the things you've collected, the website, Chess Dryad, and it's gone far beyond just organizing
that's
chess
true.
clubs.
Good point. So now that particular magazine is a heartbreaker because I don't know why. Maybe because it was Chess Friends of Northern California. These guys were casual players. It was for casual players, the organization, and they all threw the magazines away. And they're very rare. In fact, the first year, 51, if there is a 51, nobody knows for sure. I think I have the most extensive biography of the magazine in the world, but I don't know whether there was a 51 or not. In fact, Colty didn't know, and he was the one who started it. He would say one thing on one issue and another thing on another issue. Of course, he was the one who said that he started in the Chronicle in 47, when in fact he started in 48.
Okay, we can give him the...
Exactly.
Wasn't important.
Yeah.
That's the main thing.
Exactly.
It's what you do, not necessarily when you do it.
Exactly, right. But in any case, there's more information in those magazines about local clubs, specifically the Hayward Chess Club, than any other location. And I'd love to get more of them, but I think I'm running out of time because most of the people who were around at that time are either, most of them are dead and some of them are dying. That's why I, along with John Donaldson, am sort of an ambulance chaser.
That's what you meant by it?
Yeah.
Gotcha. We've talked about it before. The first time I met you, you were working at Games at Berkeley.
Right.
I mean, I came in as, a father, not knowing anything really beyond being a chess player, from New York and coffee houses, but no sense of the United States Chess Federation or competition.
Right.
I walk in there with my son because, as we mentioned, Micah had won the scholarship from Ray, and he suggested I go down there to get some books. And there's this guy named Lasker.
M. Lasker.
M. Lasker. Well, it didn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
I mean, the name Lasker.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's true. Of course, Lasker is my hero. Emanuel Lasker is, in my opinion, the greatest player who ever lived, simply because he was actually the smartest player who ever lived. And by that I mean he may have not had the greatest talent, but when it came down to the crunch, he could outthink his opponents and figure out what they were going to do before they did it. And so he was a smart competitor. And someone like Capablanca beat him because, of course, Lasker was a little too old to be playing during that period. And also the heat of Cuba got to him to some extent. He just, being an American, and he just couldn't stand heat. Yeah.
Did you ever use your name at Games at Berkeley, or did you always use Lasker?
Well, I used my name originally, but later on, there was the guy who ran the manager was named Bob Ham. He was a master too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although we played a lot of speed chess, and I was better.
And when did you start that big board?
Well, actually, the big board, Bob started that. And so I was the one in charge of putting new problems on it every week. And I was the one in charge of ordering chess books. And he ordered the chess sets. And of course, nobody else at the time was selling books at tournaments. And Max Briquette had abdicated that position. He had sold at tournaments for quite some time, actually since '72. But I think he stopped in around 1980, between 1980 and 1985, and someplace in there. And at that point, because there was another guy who was sort of a late competitor to him, his name was Robert Henry. He was a strong expert. He started selling at local clubs and tournaments, and he acquired leukemia. Although I helped him sell a little bit because I was very savvy about this kind of thing from selling at conventions and flea markets from comic books. And so I helped him sell, and when he actually got too sick and died, his mother called me up and wanted me to sell the remaining items. He had a large inventory. So I went down to a bunch of clubs and tournaments and sold all his remaining stuff and gave her the money. And I, not having any kind of resume at the time, I used that to get into Games of Berkeley. Not that I needed it, but it helped me get there. Yeah, exactly.
When did you start working at Games of Berkeley?
September of '87.
And
87.
87.
Yeah, 87.
Okay. Well, that was only a few years then before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you left it.
In '96.
And it's no longer in existence?
Oh, sure. It's in existence, yeah. It's just that they don't have any chess player there, so their chess supplies are pretty bad.
Yeah. Okay. I think the last time I was down there, it had gotten pretty bad.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it?
Oh, yes, I did. Yeah. I love selling to the public. I guess that's why I was so into flea markets and conventions. Heck, my first convention was a coin convention when I was 8 years old.
With your father?
Yeah. We were selling. He was selling coins from his shop in Hollywood, and I helped him when he went to lunch. And when he got his coin shop in San Francisco, I helped him there too.
So he actually had a shop in San Francisco.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, let me get to Patagorsky.
Patagorsky?
Patagorsky. Okay, because that's what got me interested in doing the interview with you, because I do want to pick up on Chess Triad.
Okay.
But I had never heard of Mrs. P.
Oh yes, right.
And it was a fascinating story you told me, and I'd like to get some of that recorded. So I'll leave it open to you to say what you want to say.
Okay, well.
Give us some background.
Sure. Basically, she was sort of came to California in 1949, and in the early 50s, she started taking lessons from a strong San Francisco, a strong master from that Southern California, and she basically she was one of the Rothschilds, so she was very rich, and she actually started helping people with prize funds and everything else. The 1954 Hollywood Invitational, it was a big tournament. She actually paid all the prizes for it. If you look at my website, you'll see the checks. And she was probably I haven't put this on the website yet, but she had a foundation she started, the Patagorsky Foundation, and she actually, I think, put $150,000 into it. I'm not sure how much $150,000 in $1950.
It's a lot. It's into the million.
It could be. But she kept it there all the time, and she was spending about 10 to 20,000 a month.
And it was just chess?
Just chess. She was writing checks to everybody.
And you said she funded school programs as
She
well?
funded school programs. She funded deaf chess programs. She funded USCF. She funded American Chess Foundation. She funded all the grandmasters who came into the area, gave them big checks, and they were very happy with her. And in fact, as you can see from my website, people were actually begging her for money almost constantly. She got dozens and dozens of letters per week asking for money.
Yeah, but she even contacted Bobby Fischer.
No, he contacted her.
He contacted her originally?
In 1979, Evans and Bobby wanted money to play a match with each other.
Oh, no, I was going back to the 60s.
Oh, yes.
When he was young.
Basically, yes.
When I saw those
1961, yes. She actually arranged a match with Reshevsky. And Bobby was, of course, the young up-and-comer, and Reshevsky was the longtime champion of American chess since the 30s. It's interesting that we had two great players at the same time, Rubin Fine and Reshevsky. And Rubin Fine was better at international chess, but every time he played in the U.S. Championship, he lost to Reshevsky. Every time. Yeah. It's just he couldn't. It
was a block.
Yeah, it was a block.
Yeah.
In fact, he did. Rubin Fine won or tied for first in one of the greatest tournaments ever held, 1938 Avro, with Keras. And the thing is that everyone thought that he was going to play in the next World Championship, and all of a sudden the Second World War came. Too bad for him, or he could have probably been a world champion. He'd been our second world champion. Everyone always calls Bobby our first, but of course, as we know, Morphy was our first. So basically, the big match was on, 1961, and the big sponsor was Mrs. Patagorsky. And it ended up in tragedy, as usual. Bobby, actually, nobody realizes today that Reshevsky threw tantrums all the time. He actually was a Jew, and he demanded that he would have Saturday off.
Yeah, I remember hearing about this.
And of course, Bobby did too. But somehow their Saturdays didn't coincide.
That's funny.
I know, it's funny.
Did Bobby do it because of the Sabbath in those days?
Yes, he did.
It was before his anti-Semitism.
Oh, of course.
Was going out.
Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is that it was some kind of thing. There was this great, I think, well, her husband was a cellist, and there was this great other musician, I can't remember what he was, maybe a violinist, who was like the greatest in the world at the time. And he had agreed to play with Mr. Gregor Patagorsky. And it was the same night as one of the rounds. So obviously, Bobby was informed of this, but somehow it went in one ear and not the other. They said, oh yeah, no problem. But by the time it got there, he was just adamant, saying, no, I can't do this. I want my round to start, at that time. And she refused, and that's when the whole match unraveled. Basically, he stuck to his guns like usual.
Even that young, he was
absolutely. Yeah, if you've ever read his profile, Brady's Profile of a Prodigy, you'll find that even as a young teenager, he was the same way. So, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. We've got to cut some of it out as we go.
Of course.
There's a lot of background that you've got there. So I want to move on from here to Chess Dryad.
Okay.
Okay, because that's now obviously the site for history in Northern California and generally California. And certainly you did start it. It was your concept and idea. You had a different name for it originally?
Oh, well, actually, no. That was my original name.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought at some point you wanted to tie it to Cal Chess or something of that nature. That you're wrong.
No, actually, originally it was just Dryad because it's interesting. I had always, my father was a poet and a writer, and my mother had published, and my mother was also published. And so I'm thinking, I sort of want to be a writer too. And so I was always thinking of fantasy and science fiction. And I thought of a character, Kaisa, and I actually plotted a number of stories which I have, tucked in little drawers still.
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, I mean, you have to make choices. But in any case,
you got a whole website there you could publish them.
Well, I did.
Oh, you did?
Well, the thing is, I did publish the origin of Chess Dryad.
Well, that I see.
You saw that little thing. Very short, but it's there. That's sort of a homage to my earlier dream of having a whole novel or series of novels about her. Mm-hmm. But in any case, I had thought of that name for quite some time, and when I thought of the website, it was a slam dunk, Chess Dryad. And so I incorporated, or I bought the name in 2000. But it's interesting. In 1992, I had started the CalBase, the game database of all California games, with Richard. And so that grew, and by the time I started Chess Dryad, this was pretty respectable. I had like 5,000 games in it.
Yeah, or more.
Yeah, now I have more.
No, I think you had more even than by
Maybe I did. I'm not sure.
Because I remember, I think when Richard put Micah's games on about 700, which would have been in the mid-1990s, there were about 10,000 on there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I can't quite collecting from everybody.
Yeah.
He really was.
Huh. Okay.
But in any case,
so that in fact that's my next project is to get. It's 3 years out of date right now, and I'm gonna have to get all the games which I've been collecting and put them in it.
Richard's not doing it anymore.
I know what he never did.
He never entered them.
Well, he did enter them, and he still enters them, but he only enters kids games, and all the other games come from other sources.
And you're putting the other ones in?
Yeah, I'm putting everything in from every source.
Okay, I thought Richard had been doing most of the adults as well.
No. I just got Robert Pellerin's complete games. I got them from Anna Pellerin last night, or yesterday. So I'll be giving those to Richard, and maybe we'll get some of his games in there too.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
As a memory too.
Exactly. So basically, I had a lot of stuff by the time I started, and so I had no problem finding stuff to put on the website. Even then, I had too much to do it. But when I first started it looked doable. And until I started, people said, "Oh, you have that stuff? Look, I have some of this stuff." And people started giving me stuff. And I started finding stuff, and I started understanding more about what was required. And it just never ending. Although actually at this point I have a wall of stuff, and I think I may have the bulk of it now. But it means that I have enough stuff. If I didn't work another day in my life, it would take me about 20 years to put it up. No, really. Just
I
scan
believe
it.
you. I absolutely believe you. I was smiling because I know what kind of a job that is.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to scan it in and everything else.
Exactly.
I mean,
Although it's a godsend that I got all the California chess reporters. Those 25 years and 10 to 6 issues a year. And they're 30 to 40 pages each. It's all done. So that'll stay to me.
I didn't see.
No, it's not there yet.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
I agreed with Sam Sloan, who's the one who did it, to.
He scanned it.
Well, he had somebody professional scan it.
Okay.
Yeah. So They rip my books apart, but that's okay. It saved me tens of thousands of hours.
Yeah. And,
There's a guy named Gordon Barrett. He was a Southern California expert who ran a chess club there. He came out with these weekly bulletins of about 4 to 8 pages each. There's 6,000 bulletins, or 600 bulletins, excuse me. And that I could probably do in about 3 or 4 months if I, had straight time. And I think that that's probably my next project. Unless, of course, somebody brings forward Chess in Action, and then I would drop everything and do that.
Well, speaking about Chess Triad, I mean, this love of history that you have, and certainly chess history, is underlined by the fact that you've even gone to the state championships and sat there with mementos from
that's true.
To show that there is a history.
It's just that I can't. They give me one table. It's just not even close. I could have 20 tables and still not even have anything close. But
too bad I wasn't still running it. I would have given you 20 tables. This came later.
Exactly.
This desire to do it.
In fact, I still have the stuff I bought for that kind of project. It's just I don't have the time anymore. I have, some big showcases for normally they use for coin dealers. I have 2 of those, and I have some other things that would also house collections, so I could display them.
And it keeps growing.
It does.
And the ideas keep coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is that there is a Ken Wild Association now. It's been around for like almost 20 years. Ken Wild Association.
Oh.
It's a world organization of California, or not California, but just chess historians, basically. I'm a member, and so is John Donaldson from this coast. There's one other guy from Oregon, I think, and one other guy from, I'm not sure, Saratoga or something. But in any case, they have publications, and they actually have written whole articles on how to be a chess historian. And I've been following that to some extent. They believe that the history of chess clubs is essential. That's actually why I wrote my history of the Hayward Chess Club. There's nobody better qualified than me. And I think I might write a history of the Fremont Chess Club pretty soon, too.
You saw, a little up there. But,
a little, but I mean a real one.
Yeah, a real thorough one.
Yeah. And let's see. Then they also say you want all the tournaments. You want players. That's why I started doing, the notables and all that kind of stuff. That's going to grow into the player section that I'm going to eventually have with pictures. Okay. And a greater biography.
So you'll have another notable section of players.
And this will be, the notables will actually be the largest selection, because they'll have just players who may not be in the Hall of Fame or anything, but they were in the area and they shouldn't be forgotten.
Well, I know you have it online, but let's get it on tape. Your criteria for each of the various divisions. So
that's been in much debate recently. Yes.
I'll stay out of the debate, but get to where you're going with it. I'll try anyway.
Okay, so the Hall of Fame is, I've been actually changing some of the criteria recently. I've been making it more strict. Only people who have actually contributed 10 years of extreme service to California chess, or 20 years of very good service. And the thing is that I've been taking some people and throwing them in the lower ones recently. Now the honor roll, thank you very much for your suggestion there, is for people who have given 5 years of very good or extreme service and 10 years of very good service. The notables is in flux right now. I can't figure out whether I want that to be the same kind of thing or simply a repository for players' bios, if they deserve it at all. That may be the way it goes in the future. It's hard to say.
Okay, let me take umbrage with something, and that is you're placing yourself in the notables instead of in the honor roll. I'll tell you, it pisses me off, and I'm sure it does a lot of people, including Richard Sherman. I think there's a humbleness there that you seem to forget all that you've done or don't want to bring it in for chess. The whole sense of, here, I'm, getting into a little lecture here, I suppose. But it's upsetting because you have done so much with the history of chess and promoting chess, forgetting just the clubs, that you've got to put yourself there.
Well, it's really hard for me to put myself in the honor roll.
But I'll put you there. How's that?
Well, the thing is that
you've got the 20 years. You've done more than I think a good number of the people that are on that list.
Well, I will consider it. Maybe
Sounds like some of the administrators I've talked to.
Yeah, right.
I'll consider it. Okay, what happened? What did you say? When was that?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that I've been trying to get. Nobody lasts forever, and I really want this website to last.
Okay.
And I've been sort of casting around for people who can succeed me. John Donaldson is the prime candidate. Del Rosario is the secondary candidate.
How's his health?
Frisco's? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really good.
Yeah.
So I can't. But John, of course, is a former runner, and he's in pretty good health.
Yeah.
And he's much younger than I am by over a decade. Nobody's very young anymore. God, all the youngsters.
It's coming on. Yeah, we won't talk about it.
I know.
Since I'm about the oldest, it looks like that I am.
But it would be nice for me to find somebody who is young and interested in this kind of thing. But I'm not sure. Maybe that's asking too much.
Well, it's like me with the white belt chess.
Yeah, that's true.
Who am I going to find? It's like near impossible.
Yeah.
Keep thinking, and then there's something else that comes up. But that's still avoiding the subject that I presented, and that's getting you into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Well, heck.
Put you on the spot.
Yeah. Frisco is probably pretty pissed at me right now. I put him on the honor roll, and he absolutely did not want to go on the honor roll.
He wanted to be...
Where
he wanted to be notable.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I put him in the honor roll
so
anyway.
Why don't you tell him I'll switch you? You'll put you, and then maybe you can move you into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Basically, the Hall of, in fact, there's at least another person that's probably coming down from the Hall of Fame into the honor roll. That's Lovegrove, but I'm going to have to run it by John Donaldson, because if he takes it over, I don't want him to get mad or anything, because he has a whole tournament named after Lovegrove. Yeah.
Okay. So how are we going to get you into the honor roll?
Very good. You don't give up.
I don't give up. Except in chess.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk to Richard about it and see what he thinks.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
I will.
And if he says go ahead.
Then I would go
because
ahead.
Because he's already told me.
Really?
Yeah. He has told me that the one that's missing is you.
I didn't know that.
So I have no question.
I thought I had carte blanche with him, and it was pretty okay, because he's always saying that you don't want to put yourself forward.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that sounds like Richard, but then again, you weren't putting yourself forward. He's putting you forward.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I, had mentioned that I sent you a list of names of people, which got you into the notable and the honor roll. He certainly.
A lot of people haven't gotten back to me, but it's not surprising.
Yeah, that's sad. I mean, it really is, because there are some people I think that at least deserve.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And when I was reading about Southern California names, I mean, some of them came up. I mean, but I don't know enough about them.
Well, the thing is that I mean, I'm going to ask John Donaldson about Randy Huff. He is at least a Roll of Honor, but he's probably Hall of Fame.
Well, maybe Donaldson also about Jay Stallings.
Who?
Jay Stallings.
Who's that?
See, there is a name. Right now he's on the chairman of the Scholastic Committee of the United States Chess Federation. He's been running tournaments down there for the last 20 or 30 years. We
Really?
worked together, and he's just came out with a book that's got a signature, which I said as soon as I get it signed by him, I'm going to.
I do
give
remember
you
you mentioning that.
No, I hadn't mentioned that before. I just found out about it, the book itself. So, there are names that you would know, I wouldn't know, because we're basically up here.
Yeah, but there are three people from Southern California that I would consider.
Huff,
Randy
certainly.
Huff, and there.
Hankin
Huh? I'm sorry, what?
Hankin?
Jerry Hankin, he's running the edge. Maybe not. There's another guy there that ran the magazine. I forget his name right now. And then, of course, there's Peters.
Yeah, well, Peters.
Yeah, I mean, he's a slam dunk.
Yeah.
That's still the most important chess column in the state.
Okay.
It's been the most important chess column since about 1920, irrespective of Koltanowski's column. So Koltanowski, of course, had a really fantastic column back in the early 50s. And I have a lot of the columns, which I will, given time, I will scan and put up on the website. And John Blackstone actually should be in the Hall of or Roll of Honor for sure, because he has done so much research on California chess columns. It's pretty amazing. He gave me, in fact, my complete collection of the Southern California columns is from him, except for the ones my mother cut out from the 1970s on.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to let you add what you want to add at this point, because
Okay.
I've covered the areas, and as I say, there's a lot more and a lot of other questions I could pose, but we've got to cut it short, or we'll never get it up on the net.
Yeah. What I do want to say, though, is that chess has changed dramatically several times in the areas that I've been studying. For decades and decades, probably through 1970, it was a high school oriented kind of, it was fueled by high school kids. Basically, from high schools played the most important role in California chess for decades and decades, because as they came out of high school, they would start a club. Yeah, and the only time this broke down, of course, was during the Second World War.
Were there teachers in these high schools who were organizing these clubs,
Yes.
or was it being done through the students?
It was through the teachers.
Okay, and see, I think that's what seems to be lacking for some strange reason.
Yeah, the teachers always played a hand in this.
Yeah.
Without a teacher, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
But the thing is, the teachers came from the generation prior to that, from the high schools. And all the clubs, which there were many, and through 1970, were fueled by high school kids. As they came into the club, they would strengthen the club, and 30 and 40 years later, they would be the old-timers smoking stogies. It all broke down, of course, in 1970 when Bobby Fischer, or 1971 when he won the World Championship, or started actually his World Championship cycle. And at that time, a lot of the old-timers had lost a little bit of energy. And so some newcomers, among them Martin Morrison, actually literally destroyed the old system. They started having more tournaments, and they took power away from the chess clubs and put it in the hands of the organizations controlling the clubs. He was the head of the organization at the time. And all the old clubs were sort of relegated to simply cogs in his machinery.
Interesting.
Yeah, and in that way, but magazines, you can actually see this through the magazines. Chess Friends of Northern California was a club-oriented organization. It was bottom-heavy, whereas Chess Voice and later organizations were top-heavy. They had a lot of officers in the clubs, or in the organization, that took power away from the clubs. Hans Poschmann was one of the people who actually voted against the old organization and decided to destroy the old California Chess organization, which is why the California Chess Reporter failed in 1976. People like him who were under the domination of Martin Morrison, whom Richard hates to this day.
Yeah, I don't know the man. I mean Hans, obviously, I know. But
yeah, well, Morrison was like a politician par excellence. He was great. He knew how to get people to do things, and he was so good that the USCF saw how good he was and took him, and he went to New Windsor.
So went into real politics.
Yeah. He ended up badly and got out of chess. But the thing is that post Bobby Fischer, chess was mostly tournaments, not clubs. A very different thing. And clubs started dying at that point, and Proposition 13 put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, interesting.
In 1978, practically every single club in the area felt the pinch after Proposition 13, and about 3/4 of them went belly up.
Fascinating.
Yeah, the Oakland Chess Club went belly up, the Alameda Chess Club went belly up, the Hayward Chess Club went belly up. And let's see, there was a number of clubs, Walnut Creek Chess Club, and there was a lot of outlying clubs that I'd have to actually research a little bit to find out what happened. But what I gather, according to Chess Voice, they all went belly up because of Proposition 13. That was John Larkins who made that observation.
Public funding disappeared.
Yeah, and in fact,
well, it wasn't just necessarily public funding. What often happened was where they could get places in the cities, the city now had to charge large sums of money.
That's right. I was actually, at the time, I was running the San Leandro Chess Club, and one night I was informed, oh, by the way, from now on you'll have to pay $10 an hour for the janitor, and he has to be here. But we're here for 5 hours. That's $50 a night. 1978, we couldn't afford that. We had 24 players. That was ridiculous. So the next day, I created a club called the Captain Anchovies Chess Club. Met at a pizza parlor about a block away from where I lived. And they were pretty good for about 2 or 3 years. In fact, the Hayward Chess Club, who had just kicked the bucket, came there too. So we had the Hayward Chess Club people and the San Leandro Chess Club people because of Proposition 13. But they were a struggling pizza parlor who thought that maybe these chess players would actually buy something. Yeah, and it just didn't happen.
No. With the Fremont Chess Club, we kept moving around in different coffee houses. Each thought they would do it.
No, not a chance.
They're not really buying things.
All they do is bring their own cups and see if they can steal the coffee.
Yeah. Well, maybe not that bad, but close.
Well, actually, that's what we got kicked out of some of the places later on.
Bringing their cups. And
yeah.
Makes sense. And the third level of the chess, you said they went through 3 cycles.
Oh, well, yeah. basically now, even the places that used to have chess clubs now are not. From what I gather, there's only 150 active adults in the Bay Area playing tournament chess. That's according to the people who are running it. And it's all scholastic chess. Scholastic chess, as you know, started in the early 80s. And it started, and it's very different than the previous chess because instead of high schools or junior highs, it's starting in elementary school. Well, unfortunately, this doesn't translate well to making lifelong players.
Exactly.
Because they burn out long before they reach maturity. And so it doesn't help for chess, at least around here.
Well, I think there's been a little change more recently where, and I don't know how it's going to go, we've got such a strong level of top-level players coming out of the junior high school area. In fact, that junior high won all of the high school state stuff. I mean, we've got a whole series of masters and experts now.
Well,
and the point is that there may be more of a likelihood that they'll stay.
That would be good.
You know, people like Nardaditsky,
right,
coming out and now a grandmaster at 17.
Right.
You know, we're not going to get the numbers, obviously, not just because of scholastic chess, but because of online chess.
Right.
And you know, over the board just is not as interesting for many people today because they've got to get out, they can't do it in their underwear, you know, there's all kinds of reasons. The cost.
Although there's nothing like the adrenaline of facing somebody face to face.
Oh, I don't question that. Yeah, at all.
Yeah, I that's part of the chess that was one of my strong points, is that I liked competition.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind playing over and over again. I played 10,000 games, and I didn't study at all.
And you still like playing, which is not true of a lot of players. You're still actually having people come to your house, or that they did, and they played there, and you gathered these groups together. So
I used to, yeah. I don't really play that much anymore because my digitizing is taking precedence. I know that I don't have that.
There's a group, so they were telling me, at your place just a few months back, or...
Yeah, that's true. I do have people coming there on Saturday nights.
Okay.
As Richard says, Saturday night at Kerry's.
Okay, so it still goes on.
Yeah.
You keep
But,
that spirit there. One final question.
Okay.
How did you become the champion of the People's Park?
Oh, very good.
That's my last question.
Well, that was sort of facetious, obviously. The thing is that basically I just happened to arrive when there was some people playing chess.
What were you doing there?
I was, I collect books, and People's Park is right across the street from Moe's bookstore.
Ah, gotcha. Okay,
and Shakespeare.
Yes.
And so I always go my rounds. I go to see if there's any new chess books this week. And then I had parked near People's Park, and I went there, and lo and behold, there was some people playing chess on one of the park benches. I approached them, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, I'm champion here." There you go.
And do you play chess? And
Exactly, the usual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I play a little.
exactly.
Yeah. I won't tell you I'm a chess master. I play a little.
Don't want to do that.
Thank you, Kerry.
You're welcome.
There's a lot of good information there. I'm going to publish the whole thing. I will not cut anything. I'm just going
Whoa.
to put it up there and let people
I could have gone on and on because I barely got started in the actual history.
I know.
I know.
There's a lot there, and it's just a matter of how far
Of course.
we go. We get a feel for why you should be in the Hall of Fame. All right.